everybody. I wanted to talk to you today about beliefs. And I was kind of going through the things that I believed that I based my whole entire life on. And the thing is, we all do that. And the more that we do that, the more we have at stake, the more we won't check things out. This is not, and we're not unique in that. Everyone does that. We do it for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons we do it is it's efficient. You know, we like to short circuit. You know, if we have to think through every single thing that we do and every single day, every time, then it just would be so labor intensive, and everything would take so long. So we make some shortcuts. You know, we have beliefs based on our experiences, based on our life. You know, based on things that we've been told, our cultural values, and blah blah blah, all that. So we make shortcuts. They're assumptions, but they very much feel like facts. And then what happens is we also get to a place where we really want to know things. And the more fears you have, the more rigid you get about this. And so people are really dangerous are like the narcissists, people that have a very rigid set of beliefs and are unwavering and unwilling to be flexible and change and come up with, you know, are not amenable to changing things or growing in different directions. Those are really scary people and pretty frustrating, really, for anyone who's very healthy. Before all this went sideways, what I thought of my parents was, I thought that they were conservative. I thought that they were opinionated. I thought that they were kind of superior and judgmental, fixed in their ways. And I thought that they were reserved. I thought that they were stuffy, that they were, you know, not openly affectionate, but I believed that they loved me. I believed that they were family-oriented. I believed that they had good values. I believed they were hardworking people, that they were honest. All the values that I had, I believed they shared. In terms of, I was more open-minded and I was more openly loving and all that. But I thought some of that was somewhat superficial. I thought that the big values that I carried, we shared, and I assumed that I learned them from them. But it turns out that that wasn't the case. And what a huge eye-opener this was for me to be in my middle 30s and all of a sudden having to unlearn all the things about the people that raised me. You know, I know this is true for me, so I assume it's true for them, and it's not. It was very strange. It was much stranger than it was even for my husband. With my husband, it was strange too, because here I picked him. I based my choosing of him on the fact that I thought we were so alike. You know, we had all these shared plans, all these shared, you know, dreams and hopes and all that, which you do. But with him, I'd only had it for, you know, less than a decade, or, you know, about a decade. But my parents, this is my whole entire life. So I'm having to learn over the course of time, and I learn it in waves, I learn it in stages. It still comes to me. But I had to learn that my parents don't have an intact conscience, that they are not loving people, that they don't have proper empathy, that they will break the law, that they're not honest, that they're really very dishonest, that they are disloyal, that they are petty, that they are pathologically envious. These are all heartbreaking things to know. And you wonder, how did I go all my life without knowing that? The thing of it is that they had a vested interest in looking like what they look like. It was only going to show up, and it was only going to show rear its ugly face when they were threatened. And so all these things I believed about them based on the messages that they gave me. Because the messages that they gave me were definitely all about, we need to protect the family, you have a loyalty to the family, you don't air the dirty linens. I believed that they were reserved and all of that, because I couldn't believe that they didn't love me. So I believed that they didn't tell me I love you and all of that stuff just because they were, you know, reserved. But I believed that they did love me. And I also believed that they had taken care of me, that they had taken care of my needs as a child. And when I realized that really wasn't true either. And then, you know, you hop over to other things, like with my when I married my husband. I believed absolutely that narcissistic men, who I wasn't identifying as narcissistic men, I was identifying them as maybe a little arrogant, kind of suspicious of other people, was protective, people weren't able to pull one over on him. He was very aware of his surroundings. He was very people savvy, all of that stuff. I believed that meant that quality in a man meant that he was protective, because he was so protective of himself. I believe that it was himself meant his wife and his kids, like me and mine. That's what I thought. And I believe that by choosing someone who was maybe a little bit of a difficult personality or whatever, and also someone who wasn't already, I told a story about that there was sort of these two people that I had the potential of dating at the time. One was this really sweet surgeon, about 10 years older than I was, established surgeon, really nice guy, and then the guy that I married. And I thought, so erroneously, I believed that the one I married was the more secure choice, because the other guy was already established. He didn't need me. So I thought that the guy that needed me, the guy that I would help, the guy that we would build a life together, meant that was insurance. I would have more security with this guy than that one. That guy, was handing me a life and he could just snatch it right back at any time. And I believe this one, where I was building a life with him, it was my life that I had invested in. I was building it, and that by enduring hard things, I believe that I was building a bank account. I was building loyalty. I was building love. I totally believed that. I believe that by being low maintenance, by not making a lot of demands, by being stoic and not being wimpy or whiny or demanding or a diva or anything like that, that I was earning respect, and that if I ever did have a need or something, that then the people that loved me would really respond, because they would know that I wasn't somebody who took advantage of people, who made a lot of demands or anything like that. They would know that I was tough. They would know that I was, a certain kind of person. I'd proven I was a certain kind of person by the lifestyle that I'd lived. This was the really big one. I believe that I made a choice. I've talked about this several times in videos. I made a choice to move back home and settle down near my family. There was lots of transitions going on with my family. Grandparents getting older, my brother moving away, blah, blah. And I felt like my family needed me, that I could be there for my grandparents as they got older. Then later, eventually, I'd settle down and raise kids around my family, because my parents, presumably, they always told me they wanted to be grandparents, that this would be the best thing for my kids, and my parents would be so grateful to have me there with raising my kids near them, and all this stuff. And that I chose that over this potential to have a chance at an acting career in Los Angeles. The acting career thing seemed like the super risky choice. That seemed like the really high risk, no guarantees, nothing for sure at all with that. Going home and being there for my family and my lifelong friends seemed like absolutely guaranteed. There was no risk there. That was a sure thing. That was my family and my lifelong friends. They love me, and of course, the future held. There could be illnesses and things could happen. But as far as going there and being loved and have a sense of belonging and all of that, and having my family and having that life play out with my family, that was guaranteed. That there was no risk in that. That couldn't go away. So this was a big one. This I really believed, and in fact, I would say even with the acting thing, I even more believed that. I believed more that was more impossible than it was, based on what my parents told me, or suggested to me, that I wasn't, basically didn't have what it took, or whatever. It was too much of a crazy notion, not practical thing to think about. So these are beliefs, and I did not question any of these beliefs. I did not question these at all. To me, these were facts. these were facts. And what I had to do when things started kind of falling apart is I had to start doing this thing that I call embrace reality. I had to start embracing reality. And what that is basically starting to question my beliefs. And this plays into another video that I did about giving people the benefit of the doubt, which was definitely something that I did. I definitely played into the give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove to you there's some reason not to. And in my case, even then, keep trying, give them a second chance, and a third, and a fourth. But definitely, don't suspend your decisions until you have evidence one way or the other. That was definitely not the way that I lived. And with embracing reality, I had to start living that way. I had to start really telling myself, you don't know things. And I guess the blessing of it is that I ended up it was such a bizarre set of circumstances that pretty much about everything I believed, about everybody except for myself, what I believed about my own character was true. I turned out to be probably stronger than I ever knew. But I knew that I was a good person. I knew that I was a loving person. I was an honest person. I knew all the stuff that I believed about myself, I believed about everybody else. So it turned out only to be true of me. It turned out not to be true of everybody else. So, so there were just all these beliefs. But the beauty of having everything, having the bottom just completely fall out from under me like it did, was that I really had nothing to hang on to. So that when it got to when I hit my rock bottom and I said, okay, I will not go any further than this. This is the low as I'm willing to go. And I started climbing my way up. At that point, I was really starting out from, I was a baby. I was like a newborn baby. I was like, practically, I was just like, I am, show me the way. I know nothing. Said the universe, you show me what, I'm not going to come in with any preconceived notions about anything that I once believed about other people, about one of the biggest ones was assuming that the way that I felt about people, or my attitudes about things, or my values were shared with the people that I was around. That turned out not to be true at all. That it's really important to just remember as you're unraveling all of this stuff that you are in. I don't know wherever you are in the stage of things. It's a smart practice to get into. It's a good practice to get into. Once you get kind of maybe over this and healed of this a little bit, be careful not to fall back into the patterns, or just swing far. Now you have your beliefs are all the way on the other side. It's best not to have extremes. It's best not to be too fixed in any beliefs. To check things out as you go, and always embrace reality. So the thing with embracing reality is basically it plays into this whole thing about magical thinking and malignant optimism and all that stuff. It's a really fine line with how it works, because if you went through something just as terrible, as I did, or many of you have, and you really looked at it for really how bad it was, it might just be hard to not give up. And I honestly have to say, had I known that I would lose my son, oh my gosh, it's a good thing I didn't know. The universe unfolds as it does on its own time, because, but I just never would have believed that would happen. You always got to question your beliefs. And so the thing is, really be careful not to get into, because I was so deluded. I had such magical figure myself out. I mean, it was a complete identity crisis. I had to really discover myself anew. And what was good about that was that when I discovered the way that was really important to do it was to know where I was, to know what I believed, to get a handle on where I was, but then so that I wasn't ever in a place again where someone could take advantage of me. And then, as quickly as I knew where I was, be able to imagine a better place. Be able to imagine it better. So that was a really important step. It wasn't that I believed things were better than they were, which was the problem before. That was denial, and that was, you know, all this stuff where, you know, I was being abused, but I was telling myself that I wasn't being abused. I was telling myself that it was fine, and it wasn't fine. I wasn't doing that anymore. But it was like, I could admit, okay, I was being abused, so I'm not going to be abused anymore. But I could envision myself being loved and being fine, even though I wasn't right then, at the moment. I could envision myself being surrounded by loving people and being happy and fine and not so sad and not so alone and not so isolated and scared. That's what I'm talking about. It wasn't like I really believed that I was that. I just knew that I would get there.